Love and light. So, just a quick video because I'm seeing still in the collective still a lot of fear, even in the awoken collective. Of course, we would expect fear in the third density personalities, and those who don't understand what's going on. But even amongst the light workers, and maybe even especially amongst the light workers, there's a huge segment of light workers still, and some of them are really big personalities and forces in the spiritual movement that are still portraying this like we're battling the dark still, instead of the truth that that battle is over. We have won. Individually, we are still purifying. Individually, we are still releasing negative things, and thus collectively, we are still releasing things. But that's to recognize that negative energies are being released, and that not all forces on the planet have recognized the sovereignty of the light here, and that the ascension has already happened, and the divine plan. Just because the cabal and the dark ones, out of their ignorance, are refusing to cede to the truth, are fighting to the last breath and plotting all sorts of schemes. Of course they're going to plot schemes. Of course they're going to try to disrupt things. That's what they do. That's their game. But that should not cause us to waver in our knowledge that there's truly only one law. There is only divine law. There's truly only one plan. There's only divine plan. All of this that is happening is according to the will and the plan of the solar logos, of the universal logos, of the all that is, of the Ancient of Days, of the entire angelic hierarchy. The belief that the dark can battle us here, and that they have some hope of winning, that there's some danger. I posted a video yesterday about a rather revolutionary scientist. He's not just a scientist. Perhaps he's mostly a scientist, but he's a good bit of his character was spent studying personality, was spent studying spiritual things, Kundalini yoga, and he's really into exopolitics, extraterrestrial affairs, as well as the physics and things he's studying and the healing modalities he's studying. He's a brilliant man. But even with him, I noticed a tendency to view everything from the bottom up instead of the top down. And those are two radically different viewpoints. Because when you view yourself from the bottom up, you're still viewing yourself as this struggling thing trying to become divine. And often I hear people talk about the dark side and the power of the dark side and the power of the Dracos and the Chakar and the Archons and the Anunnaki and all these beings. And what about our power? What about our power? What about that each of us is an expression of a divine will, of a divine being? We are divine beings ourselves, but even as fractal personalities, we are expressions of huge collectives of light and love, of huge collectives of power and intelligence. Each of us has a higher self, and even when you move to the position of embodying the higher self that you used to pray to, you will then still have a higher self of immense power. And for those beings that are caught in the belief in separation, I don't care whether they're at the top of that pyramid scheme or the bottom, for those beings caught in the belief in separation and trying to dominate the material world, they will always be limited compared to the light, compared to the infinite love of our Creator. They will always be limited in their power. And I mean greatly limited. Greatly limited. Because when you compare finite to infinite, you know, I heard Laura Eisenhower say in one of her videos, it actually wasn't Laura Eisenhower, she just agreed with it. It was the FBI agent guy, Soros, is that his name? The FBI agent guy who's like into the disclosure movement and all that. But he was saying, you know, that the dark side and the white hats are hatching these plans against each other all the time. And, you know, that may be true at a certain level, but it's not true at the highest levels of the light. They are not planning. They're not scheming. They move from synchronicity. They move from harmony with divine law. They move according to where the tapestry dictates and says there's a necessity for them, that they may be of most service. They need not plan against the dark. They're not at war with the dark. At a certain level, you don't even see the power of the dark, as it is only an aspect of yourself you sent down to do something. For it was always the plan of our Creator to use negativity for growth, to use struggle for growth. This was our plan, both as the one Creator and as infinite souls and monads that are expressing this will of the Creator. It was always our plan. Now, perhaps it is said, and I agree, that we have far exceeded the planned amount, and that's because of the paradoxical nature of this situation, that because it is a false light matrix, it is a reversal grid. So while on the one hand I can say with complete 100% certainty that all that is and everything that ever occurs is 100% according to divine law and in harmony with the divine plan. And I can also say that we didn't expect this much pain, that we've gotten caught in it longer than we expected. Some say that Earth was already supposed to be ascended to the position that Venus is currently in, that we are behind schedule, and that's why the whole galaxy is coming into order, because we are slowing the ascension of the larger galactic being which we are a part of. Our solar logos is part of a larger galactic being or celestial being encompassing many systems, 7 systems, it's said. And that, you know, as a chain, the weakest link dictates the strength of the chain. Therefore, this being may not ascend until Earth ascends to her proper position, until she is restored from the fallen state, which has already happened in the celestial realms, and we are only now experiencing it in the physical. You know, I often look back, you know, while you're on the spiritual path, it can feel like an incredible struggle. But, and then there are times where there is no struggle and it's incredibly beautiful and harmonious, but it is not always that way. But looking back at like the things that I have achieved on the path, you know, I look back and I say, and I wonder, did I do any of that? Was any of that me? Because, you know, as you release that struggling element and actually ascend to the position that the struggling element desired, you're not exactly the same being anymore. So you're now, it's a larger being that has done this, and you realize there's always a being ahead of you, pulling you, above you, as you return to yourself. So it's like all of this was truly just the result of this celestial being moving, and how well I was able to accept this and come into harmony with this. That's all that's really happening, because it's the same story really happening to all of us. To all of us, including the dark side. The dark side. Because it's just whether they want to accept that or not. So that being the case, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to concern yourself with the plots of a couple cells within a giant body which has decided to move a certain way. They want to move the other way. That will result, I suppose, in their ejection from this body and into a different body, like a virus. If they are not healed, restored, and redeemed, which of course we all hope they will be. Anyways. Yeah, so I guess in closing, I just want to say, again, remember your power. Remember your sovereignty. I don't care what the galactic situation is. People, I hear spiritual people say this quite often, this kind of thing, like, there's a difference between discernment and suppression and blindness and denial. And of course this is true. Suppression and denial would be to be uninformed of these things. Is that the situation? Are most of us, that call ourselves light workers, are we uninformed about the Draco? Are we uninformed about the plots of the Cabal? Now, being informed about it is quite a bit different than putting all your consciousness, or even 25% of your consciousness energy, into this thing and sitting there and spinning about it, and then spinning back and forth to each other about it. That is propagating fear. To put out the attitude that there's any possibility that the Cabal can take your sovereignty is to propagate fear. And that cannot be to serve the light, no matter what your true intention is. And don't get me wrong, most of these people, most of them, not all, most of them have a pure intention. They fully consider themselves, and in fact are, light workers. That doesn't mean they're not spreading distortions with their light. We are all guilty of that until we either learn until it's purified, or we learn the wisdom of taking on ideas and spreading them. Yeah. Anyways, love and light to all of you.